what's up everybody, and welcome back to The Modern Actress. My name is Alli Valdez, and today I am so excited to share with you how I develop my characters and break down my sides for any audition. So if you watched my video last week, I did a whole 13 reasons why audition story, and I thought it'd be so fun to show you all my developmental process and how I find my characters before going into an audition. So let's get started. Okay, so some history about different techniques to consider. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of techniques that actors use to develop a character. The two most famous, taught in very traditional acting schools, are Meisner and Strasberg. They are a little bit different of techniques. One is more imagination-based.
Imagination.
One is more substitutional based. And that is something I learned in LA that I didn't know living back home, and I really got more familiar with when being out in some of these professional acting classes. One technique uses very much imagination, so you get to create your circumstances, you get to create your characters and who you are. The other is more substitutional based, so you try to bring up some past circumstances to get you emotionally available for that scene. And so I am not a fan personally of substitution based because I want to protect myself as an actor, and I don't want to bring up sort of like my history to get me emotionally into a scene. I would much rather work on an imagination-based type of art where I get to create that and live in someone else's shoes, so that when the director yells cut, I can emotionally detach myself from that piece and from that moment. I have had opportunities to have very emotionally draining, really dark and heavy roles, and it was really nice to create the imagination behind that piece of art and not bring up like my past to get me in a state of emotional distress. Though it was really heavy to create the circumstances, I found it more rewarding as an individual to keep my sanity sane than to be consistently bringing up past trauma to get me into a scene that's not even about the trauma that I faced. I just don't believe in that myself. You know, other actors, they do use that. You know, other actors are more of like committed to like really working out those real life experiences to live in the moment because they've gone through that. But I wouldn't want to attach some sort of trauma to like to a circumstance that has nothing to do with my job. So that's kind of a ramble. I don't know if I'm gonna, I don't know. That's just kind of the disclaimer I want to throw out there. Again, like these acting techniques are so famous and so well known. These acting techniques are so famous and so well known, it's worth, you know, going to audit a class or two or getting familiar with these types of techniques, because that has funneled to different types of techniques that acting coaches in different studios use today. It's really much living in the mindset of imagination versus substitutional base. So if that makes sense, if you follow me, that's awesome, because I think I just lost myself in that train of thought. Let's add a little pep into our step, shall we? Wake up. My eyes are so tired. So the first thing that I do is I print out my sides and I read them through thoroughly like 3 or 4 times. Like I read through just to get familiar with the piece, to figure out like what they're talking about, who is who, where the setting is. Like then I start to just like, you know, read at a very neutral perspective, kind of like a bird's eye perspective. So I'm like flying pretty high, and then like I'll read the material like 3 or 4 times before really like going deeper in. So after that, then I start to read the material over again about another 3 or 4 times, and just like start asking myself questions like, who is this person? Where are they at? What is she wearing? Who am I talking to? You know, what does my scene look like? You know, who is this person? Does she know this person? Is she affected by this person? Is this a new person entering into her life? What is she referring to when she says this? So it's really fun because I start to like formulate these questions in my head that I need to answer. So after I do that, then I'll like put pen to paper and start writing these things down. And so the Warner-Laughlin techniques teaches you like a whole structure of how to like write things down, which I won't go into. But then I start really putting like pen to paper and answering these questions. And that's like the most fun part, because then I can just be free and make decisions and make choices. And that's like the most liberating part of this art. So for example, like if the line says like, oh, like, you know what mom used to tell us growing up, right? And then like the next person is like,
yeah, of course I do. Like, how could I forget?
Then like that's a lot of content that I need to figure out. Like I need to figure out like, okay, so this is my brother I'm talking to. What did mom tell us growing up? How long ago was that mom told us? were we in trouble? Was it a good piece of advice? Was it a bad piece of advice? Is it how is that advice applicable to the scene? You know, is this person who's my brother, and I get to like make the choice of being like, okay, well, I haven't seen this person in 15 years. And so nowhere in the script does it say I haven't seen my brother in 15 years, but that's like a choice that I am making to add some emotional depth to it. So, you know, if you haven't spoken to someone in 15 years, it's different from when you speak to someone 5 minutes ago, right? And so that helps me kind of gauge where I want the scene to take. So it's like, okay, cool. The first choice I made was, I haven't seen my brother in 15 years. The second choice I made is, you know, Mom used to always tell us, always be home before the streetlights come on. So that's applicable to the scene because this scene is a person who got almost abducted, you know, walking home from the grocery store after dark. So, you know, like it's just like different things like that, that the character and the piece is not so blatantly obvious for, but it's the most liberating and fun thing to do is really like make those decisions and commit to them. And I think like that's something that I've heard from casting directors in workshops and interviews that they've said a lot, is that a lot of actors come into an audition without knowing their material. I want to know my material so well that I can tell you what my character's favorite color is, what kind of food she listens to, what her morning routine is like, you know, things like that that I know so well about myself. Like I really want to emulate that in my character. So I'll take a lot of time and just start really going deep into my character and deep into her history. Like even so more like going back to like her childhood. Like what were some happy childhood memories she had? What were some dark childhood memories she had? Like what was high school like? You know, did she fit in? Was she popular or was she not popular? Like all of those things that we've experienced in our life that are so applicable to like who we are as human beings today. And like I'm not even talking about like acting, I'm talking about like real life. Things I went through like growing up is like certainly structured me to be who I am today. So how can I expect not to do that in an audition setting with a character that I'm getting to play for the first time? It's so freeing and liberating to get to know somebody. Like literally get to know someone through pen and paper and create the life that you've always, you know, kind of wanted to create. And so again, like that's why I love the imagination base, because I can spin my character on so many different ways. And that, you know, if I get direction from a director that's like, okay, you know, you're being very distant with your brother, you know, your brother's your best friend. Like, okay, cool. So then like I can change that in my register and kind of like take away that memory of, you know, my brother being gone for so long and put in like a new memory of like, oh, like my brother, he and I live together and like we share a condo together and we like finish each other's sentences. So then it makes the scene a little bit more dynamic and different. So that's really how I break down my characters. It's so fun to be emotional and creative and let your imagination come through, because this is art and you get to express yourself in so many different ways. I hope you found something exciting and insightful today. If you're not familiar with Meisner technique or Strasberg technique, please familiarize yourself with that. I guarantee you those are going to come up in acting classes in the future. Anyways, my name is Alli Valdez. This is all for today's video. If you liked today's video, don't forget to give me a like, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell, and we'll see you next time. Bye, y'all.